Hello, 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 hello. What's up? This is Astrology and Magic. My name is Valkyria Verde. It's great to have you here. It's eclipse season. I'm a little bit excited. Can you tell? I can. Can you tell? Because I can. It's eclipse season. We have the Virgo eclipse coming up. I'm also going to put down below a link to a live stream reading that I did on YouTube recently for eclipse season. It breaks down the eclipses a little bit. How do I say? It's like only the eclipses, and then I pull some cards and we look at some things too in there. So if you're interested in that and some more information about stuff that's going on, I'm going to place that in the description. It'll be there for you. Is there any other updates? I think this week the updates are nil, to be honest with you. Everything has been kind of the same. I've got live stream readings on my YouTube and my TikTok if you want to come find me. Daily updates on YouTube and TikTok if you want to come and find me. Beautiful. What else is going on? Initiation consultations are open. There's community organization and coven support. That's going to be down in the description below. Anything else that's going to be relevant, you're going to find it down there. So if you want to go take a look, there's books, there's cards, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'll be around, and let's get into the week. Let's get into the week. Let's get into the show. Let's get into what it is we need to know and where it is we need to go. March 6th, we have March 6th and 7th, which this is coming out a couple days late, because honestly, not a couple days, this is like a day late, a day after the day that I would normally post up. And normally I start the episodes on the day of, but that third quarter moon, that's what we're working with on the 6th and the 7th. The third quarter moon, honestly, took me out a little bit. Eclipse season always hits me kind of hard, and this eclipse season, and prior to this eclipse season, honestly, I've been asked to sit down, shut up, and listen. So I've been doing that. So this episode is out a day after normally it would be. So thanks for your patience with me on that one. And also the third quarter moon in Gemini with Jupiter also. Interestingly enough, this third quarter moon also ruled by Mercury. We have third quarter moon ruled by Mercury. The full moon eclipse in Virgo is going to be ruled by Mercury. The third quarter moon that we're in on the 6th and the 7th, Mercury, and the way that it is ruling, it's direct. It's going to be direct for the eclipse, and then right after the eclipse, it's going to go retrograde. So we are in the shadow period of that retrograde. And it's interesting to me that we're going like up to this eclipse in Virgo, because Virgo is the new lunar node. It's the new. We're bringing in the new. We're bringing in, what is it that we want to do for this next cycle? It's also the south node, so it's like easy on the earth. What skill are we obtaining? What are we working with in our Virgo? So if you look at your 6th house, look at your Virgo placements and your Mercury placements, those are going to be what's really affected by the upcoming moon and the upcoming eclipse, I should say, the upcoming full moon lunar eclipse. So looking at that, just understand that the directionality and kind of what's going on in our, how do I say this? What's going on in our next couple of years? In this eclipse season, we're making some foundational, fundamental decisions. So I think it's interesting that Mercury is going direct for this third quarter moon, or is direct rather, not going direct, that happens after the retrograde, but it is direct right now into that third quarter moon and the full moon eclipse, because it's showing us this forward moving motion. That's the interesting part to me, is like we get this forward moving motion and we have this forward moving thing, and then Mercury is going to be retrograde in the same sign that the new moon solar eclipse is going to be in on the 29th, later this month, and that eclipse is closing out our previous lunar nodes. And if you remember, April 8th, we're not going to get too deep into this, but the April 8th new moon solar eclipse that was in Aries a year ago was also in the Aries energy, right? But we were in the middle of that lunar node, and Mercury was retrograde then too. Curious. So we're going to get more into that eclipse later on, but Mercury is definitely playing a key component this season, as it has been in other eclipse seasons of recent, and its movement. So pay attention to the words, the messages. Mercury retrograde, I know for me, it always hits a very specific area of my life and kind of like always brings up themes of reconsideration and just things to look at. So if you're starting to feel that before we get into the eclipse, this is going to be a good time to really allow yourself to understand like what around me may need to be elevated? What around me do I need to shift? What around me do I need to change? And how can I do it? And what does it look like? The South Node in Virgo is going to be grounding our spiritual in the physical. Virgo is also about not making the transition, while Pisces, where the North Node is really like it's only about transition. So Virgo is the land where the rainwater falls, and Pisces is that rainwater and the rain cycle. And so where do you really want the abundance and the blessings to land? Okay, where do you want the abundance and blessings to land? One of the things that came through in that eclipse live stream that I did is that this is an entire season of fate. This is a season of fate. So what did you consecrate? What are you working in? What are you working on? What is it that you're doing that, fate's around you? Because here we are. So if you're really wondering about it, kind of look to see where those Pisces rainwaters in the Virgo spaces. In your Virgo spaces, your Mercury, Mercury, and then your 6th house. Go check those out prior to this eclipse energy, because going up to this eclipse, we're going to be finding our direction, further inspection. Where do we need this to land? Where do we need the rainwaters to land? What have we asked for? Where are our prayers getting answered? Let me open my hands a little bit. Let me open my hands. Let me let it land then. Let me open my hands. Let me let it land then. So if you are, that's true, So if you are working with 6 to the 7th, is a lot of direction stuff. And this is kind of the beginning of the direction. This is kind of the activator, the initiator of us having that direction. And then leading up to the eclipse, like I said, is going to be a whole bunch of us just figuring out directionally. Where do we need to be? What do we need to do? How do we need to get there? What are we receiving? What have we done that's already spun? We've already done the work, and now we're sitting to receive it. So there's not maybe going to be as much physical work, whereas Virgo normally is the physical work. It's the physical communication. So it's not going to be as much physical work, but it is going to be sitting and receiving in the physical. What work's already been done? How do we need to receive it? What do we need to do to receive it? Do we need to do anything to receive it? Do we just need to sit around and, wait for it to ground? That could be the case. So this leading up to that eclipse energy, just really pay attention to those surroundings and kind of sit in the receiving energy, the reception energy. We're about to be leaving a chapter after this month. A chapter, a season, an era is done. An entire season, an entire era we're finished with after this full moon and this new moon. Really, once we get to the full moon in Libra, bada bing, bada boom, we're in the new room. So here we are right now in the receiving. Make sure that we have everything before we go fully into our next season. Seasons are kind of long, long and strong. And sometimes there's nothing you can do to get out of a season. It's just where you are and what you're in. So we're in a shifting point currently of those seasons. So sit and receive, leave what you need to, do what you need to do. So that's the 6th and the 7th. We also too, I want to bring Jupiter in for just a second, just to kind of give some background to what's happening with Jupiter. Because Jupiter, it's about expansion, right? When I work with clients and I'm talking to them about like fame energy, people who have online businesses, people who are in the work of having more. People who are in the work of having more. Normally when people come to me, that is somehow related to social media and business, but it has to do with more, just more generally speaking. You want more of something? Okay, look at Jupiter then. So Jupiter this season is in an interesting position because it's also in a Mercury ruled sign. It's in Gemini. Which means that anything that we are really doing this season, because this eclipse is linked to Mercury, anything we're doing this season that has to do with Gemini, 3rd house, Mercury, Gemini placements, anything you're doing with communication, anything that is involved in that and or also connected to your Jupiter placement, wherever that is in your chart, then we're going to have some kind of crazy swift expansion. It's like a planted the seed, it grew overnight. Didn't mean to do that. There it is though. So, you want to plant the seed, you want it to grow overnight. What do you really want to put into the garden? Because it's honestly like, you ever heard the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, where he gets the magic beans and then all of a sudden, that's really good. Actually, that's a good story for this. Jack and the Magic Beans, where he puts the beans, he puts the beans in the ground. I don't remember the whole story, but it's a child's tale, right? He puts the beans in the ground, and then there's this huge stalk that grows. It grows overnight, and then he climbs up, and there's giants and stuff up there, and it's like a crazy world. I'm pretty sure the book that I read, or like one of the tales, because there's different versions of it, right? Pretty sure one of the ones I read when I was a kid was like the giant was like this big scary person, this big scary guy. But anyways, it is not going to be exactly like that, but sometimes when we grow seeds and they grow overnight and there's like the quick swift, it's just a crazy expansion. We don't always know what we're going to expand into. We don't always know what is going to be up at the top of the beanstalk, right? We don't always know what's going to be up there. So, you know, if you're comfortable with the adventure, if you're and literally today I have a cup, I put my drink in my mug today. It says, "Let the adventure begin." Interesting. Okay, I see you, Spirit, working through. Oh, there it is. So if you're really working in, thank you. If you're really working in, thank you. Yes. If you're really working in expansion, how many times can I start the sentence? Let's do it one more. If you're really working in the expansion energy, understand that there's going to be a large expansion in your hand, especially if you're someone who's Mercury ruled. You have a lot of Mercury placements. You have a lot of Gemini, Virgo, third house, sixth house stuff, and or Jupiter is a large part of your chart, and you have a lot of like conversational based things going on in your life. Mercury in the ninth house also, that's going to be something that's going to be important. If you have that placement, that's going to be heavily affected by this, like pretty directly. It'll look indirect even if it's not ruled by a Virgo, a Gemini, or Sagittarius. But you got Mercury in the ninth house, or you got Jupiter in the third house, or Jupiter in the sixth house. Okay, well, enjoy your season of beanstalks growing overnight, okay? Maybe more than one. The other example of this that I was giving in a live stream recently is the show Magicians. If you've ever seen the show Magicians, there's going to be spoilers. I'm so sorry if you are in the middle of watching it or have not seen it and care about spoilers. So spoiler alert. It's later on in the season. Two of the main characters, there's Quentin and there's Alice. And Alice was always talking about how she wants to see what her magic could really do. And she's God powered up at that point. She has the power of the God behind her. They're one of the gods in the show. Power of the God behind her, because they're going after the enemy and she needs the power of the God. And so the other main character in that moment, Quentin, he looks at Alice and he's like, well, why don't you figure it out now? Why don't you figure out what you can do with your power now since you got all this God power behind you, right? Why don't you just see what happens? And so she takes the seed and she puts it in her hand. She grows this, I think she puts it in the ground. She grows this entire tree in front of her, just like lickety split. There you go. And then there's an entire forest that comes after it. It's like right there. Crazy. So like this energy is like very, 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 very fertile. It is very, very, very rich. It's very, very abundant. It's very, 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 very dense and full of fairies also. This is very, very, if you're somebody who works with fairy magic, this is like fairy magic to the max, okay? Instead of there being just a couple butterflies around, this is like a whole entire room full of butterflies and just like everywhere. So this is a very, very fertile eclipse space. It's a very fertile eclipse season. There will be, because we're going right into a Mercury retrograde after the eclipse, there is going to be, oh goodness, some, how do I say this? Maybe like organization or like reconsideration of like, wow, I really grew that thing and now I have to figure out what to do with it. Ooh, I really grew that thing and now I gotta trim some of the branches off. Oh gosh, or I gotta rake the leaves. I don't know. It's just like management at that point. You know, like you gotta manage the growth. You gotta manage the fertility, maybe make some decisions, make some provisions, you know, move some things around, rotate some things, turn your fate possibly too. Interesting, the turning of fates. If fate's around this season, we're gonna be turning some fates. So just something to consider, something to think about, especially also if you're someone who's woven a lot, because this is a season where we have a lot grounding from other previous seasons where we've woven magic and now it's returning to us. So if you've woven a lot of magic, clock it for yourself. If you've woven a lot of magic and it's returning to you right now, it's probably going to be more than you expected. Well directed. It's probably going to be more than you expected. What's it going to be? That is not determined by me. So, you know, look at your work. Also, I don't need to know if I don't need to know. So, you know, it is. Look at your work, look what you've been doing, and really like look at what you've been brewing and what has been going on, because it might be way more than you thought it was going to be. Okay, cool. Congratulations if it's something that you want. Fantastic. Let's move into the 7th to the 9th. We have, that's just an update on more of the Jupiter influence of what's going on, since it's going to be a part of that moon on the 6th and the 7th. That's with Gemini, and also still going to be influenced indirectly with the eclipse that's coming up. So just, a heavy influence because the eclipse is ruling itself. We're going to get more into that in a second, but here we go. Okay, so the 7th and 9th, we have the moon in Cancer and with Mars, and this is also going to be ruled by itself. So this is going to be kind of one of the first indicating moons throughout the season of this is really what is about to happen. This is really what's about to happen. Don't know what that is for you. And also, this is really what's about to happen. The 7th and the 9th, when the moon is in Cancer with Mars, that's what we're about to see. Mars just went direct. Context, okay? Mars, love you context. Mars just went direct. It's not in retrograde anymore. Jupiter also just went direct, not in retrograde anymore. Venus right now is retrograde. So the feminine right now, reconsideration. We're reworking some things. The feminine right now is weaving, grounding, binding, doing what it needs to do to clear some things out and level up, elevate. Jupiter and Mars, though, they've already been through it. The masculine is like, okay, well, I've already got it then. I already know what I'm doing. I already understand. I already can have it here in my hand. Beautiful. So let the feminine receive. If the masculine needs to do anything, the masculine's going to know. That's just what it is. So while the moon is in Cancer with Mars, this is going to be the first indicator throughout this season of like, okay, I have what I have, and I have what I need, and I have what I wanted, and I have what I asked for, and I have. What do you have? I have. First indicator moon, where am I going? First indicator moon, where can I be? Now that I have what I have, where am I going to be? Now that I have what I have, where can I go? Now that I have what I have, where will I grow? That's going to be more Jupiter, but it'll also probably be influenced just generally over the season. That's a great question. Now that I have what I have, what am I going to do? What victory am I looking for now? If you have victories that you've been asking for and they're grounding in the season, now all of a sudden Mars is like, okay, well, we need some new priorities. Hello. We need some new priorities. Where are we going? I need some new directives. I need some new things to fight for. So this mood is going to let you know. Your heart also probably is going to be like, okay, I'm ready to go again. Where are we going? You're going to find out. You're going to figure it out. There's going to be some illumination, some clarity, because again, we're headed up to a full moon. Even though it's an eclipse and there's shadow involved, that's just what it is. It's still a full moon, so still furthering the illumination, still more clarity coming in. So that's the 7th to the 9th. And it being ruled by itself, that again, like I said, the eclipse on the 14th is going to be ruled by itself. The 29th eclipse on March 29th is also going to be ruled by itself, because that Mars in Cancer, it's doing something real funky, real interesting, okay? The one, real funky, real interesting. The eclipse that's in Virgo on the 14th is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is going to be in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is in Cancer right now, which is ruled by the moon, which means that moon, that eclipsing moon, is ruling over itself. It's going to be filtered through Mercury. It's going to be filtered through Mars. Yeah, sure. They're going to be involved. We got a circle going on. And it's going to be ruled by itself. It's like ruled by itself, creating a lot more direct impact. A lot more direct impact. It's like, instead of shadow boxing, you actually are fighting somebody with the Mars energy. Instead of shadow boxing, you're actually fighting somebody, and you can get the knockout. You can get the hit. You can get it. Okay, as long as you keep up with your wit and you keep up and you don't quit. Both. As long as you keep up your wit and you keep up and you don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Keep with your wit. You can do it. I don't know what that hard hit is for you, okay? But, metaphorically speaking, you got to get one in there. Go get one. Get what it is. Go and receive it. Go and do it. Sometimes we got to send some stuff out to receive some things. So, discernment for you. However the feminine is weaving and working and grounding the receiving right now, the masculine is moving forward, is working on moving forward. So there may be some things that the masculine is doing right now, whether that's on an internal level or within the relationships around you, or however you work with that energy in your life. The masculine energy is like, we're moving forward. I'm moving on. We got to get stuff done. Like I'm back at war. I'm back at battle. I'm back with the victories. That's going to be Mars. Jupiter's like, we have gardens to grow. Hello. We have things to do. I have seeds to sow. It's springtime also. Happy springtime. Almost. We're almost there. It's next week. This is not this period, but almost. So there you go. So like moving into the new, here we go. Hi, hey, hello. Beautiful. So that ruling by itself is a harder impact. It's a harder hit. So what is it that you really want to get with the hit? What is it you really want to receive? Having the specificity and making sure, like, look at what you've really trained in also. That's going to be another thing with Mars and the Mars influence over this season. What are you already trained in? We can't have victories if we haven't already trained in it. It's very rare. It's very rare. It's very rare to have a victory in a way where we're not trained, where we are, that's like very, very lucky. That's a very, very lucky thing. And honestly, with the placements that are in this season, you could have a rare lucky strike of something that you're not trained in. Things could change and alter for you very quickly. I don't know what it would be that you're looking for or that you're asking for or that you would want to come through the door. Let it come through then, let it come through. Let it come through if that's really what you want for you, because this is a season where lucky strikes could happen. This is a season where luck could ground. This is a season where we have lucky striking around. However, because of the way that Saturn is influencing this season, it's going to be conjunct with the sun pretty much for the next week. It's going to be exact during this week too. So it's like, you've already got to have worked for whatever this is. This isn't just like you're starting something brand new. This is something you've been doing probably for a long time. This is something that you probably already have a lot of articulation in. You probably had already a lot of communication in it. You probably already had a lot of manifestation in it. You probably already been weaving and working and brewing and doing and praying and making offerings. Okay, you've probably already been in it. Thank the gods for that one. You've probably already been in it. So as you're working in it, have been working in it. The other thing about Pisces and the way the Saturn influence and the Pisces sun that's happening right now, another thing to just remind yourself, Pisces is really blinding. So it might be like, how do I say this? It might be right in front of you and your eyes might be wide open, but because of the way that the Saturn and the Pisces sun right now are working together throughout this eclipse moment, it might be right in front of you and you might be able to even reach out and put your hand on it, whatever it is. You might be able to reach out and put your hand wherever it's at and still not understand exactly what it is, still not understand exactly where it is, still not understand exactly how it's gonna, come and embrace you. Crazy, because sometimes when we reach our hand out to grab something, it might take a step back. We might try to see with our hands instead of our eyes. So it's like even though it's so close, we can almost taste it. It's in the air. I can taste it. It's in the air. But because of the way that these placements are working together, we just are not going to be able to see it until we're able to see it. So patience with the blindness, kindness with the blindness, and let yourself have the illumination that's necessary. May you be able to have that, honestly, because it's a season where we are actually probably going to have our wishes fulfilled. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how crazy that is? How many times have you been through something where you've been working and you've been wanting and you've been driving forward? However that has worked, because it's different for everybody. How many times have you done that? Oh, goodness. How many times have you done that? And it just, for whatever reason, you haven't made it there yet. You want to be there? Because this is a season where you could be. And if you don't make it there exactly in this season, because for some, it's going to depend on who you are and what the work really is for you. It could be that something shows up in the season, and then in our next eclipse season, there's grounding there too. So it's not a promised season of grounding. How do I say this? Of grounding blessings and grounding gifts. It's not a promised season, it's a fated season, and they're very different. So the promised season, there's gonna be more promised, like maybe promising of the promised things. If Spirit has promised you anything, that's gonna be between you and Spirit. This season is more about fate. It's more about things being fated, looking at your fates. How did you cross other people? What work have you done? It's a season for that. Okay, so still though, it's a season where if you've really done the work and you've really done the crossings and you've really been weaving a lot of faith, and congratulations. I don't know what it is, but congrats. 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 Celebrate yourself during the season if you have those things coming through. I already said it. I feel like I'm probably going to say it again. Well, here we are. Okay, so Moon in Cancer, 7th to the 9th. The 10th through the 11th, the moon is going to be in Leo, which is going to be ruled by the sun in Pisces, which is going to be conjunct by 1 degree with Saturn. So here we go. Okay, directionality and like understanding of impact and what is the real deal. That's the 7th to the 9th with the moon in Cancer. The 10th through the 11th, the moon in Leo ruled by the Pisces sun, conjunct with Saturn. Okay, what are the rewards? They start to probably arrive. What did you survive? What did you make it out of? What were you asking for? How did you get here? What were you praying for? What did you pray for? What did you look up in the sky and you said, I really want this thing? Any wishes of the heart? Did you have any wishes of the heart? Did you make any wishes? I know I've been making wishes. I know I've been praying for things. I know I've been making works. I've been weaving. I've been casting spells in my magic, in my craft. I've been making offerings. I've been doing lots. I've been doing and I'm brewing lots. I don't normally talk about a lot of that magic on here, but you know what? I have been doing a lot. I have been doing a lot. So really look at what you've been brewing. What have you been doing? What have you been brewing? What have you been doing? Because the 10th through the 11th, the moon in Leo, we're almost to the eclipse. So like we're going to start to see groundings, the 10th through the 11th, we're going to start to see groundings of work well done. Work well done. What did you do? Work well done. Congratulations are going to start to come through. Congratulations of rewards. And this is going to be, because it's Leo and it's Pisces, it may not be quite to the physical yet. It may not be quite to the physical yet. And if you still feel blinded on this moon and you're like, I don't see it, I don't know, I don't understand yet, then look for, again, like, is there any other step that you still might need to take? It is Saturn. It is Saturn. Love you, Saturn. Oh, golly, I'm gonna roll my eyes a little bit. Listen, love you, Saturn. And also, Saturn does require that we work. Saturn requires that we're always kind of listening, paying attention, being constructive. If we need to be disciplined in our deconstruction also, Saturn just asks that we keep learning and we keep turning, and Saturn is not a planet of rest. Unless you schedule in your rest, unless the work is to rest, then that's different. Sometimes Saturn will offer that lesson. That's really true. Normally Saturn is like, okay, well, go do. So when we go do, this also could be a time, interesting, the vision I just had right now, this also could be a time of like graduation. I'm seeing someone graduate with like cords and honors and like a bunch of different, like the sashes and the different, like, you know, all the colors and the honorary, however that works with your schooling, you know. That's what I'm seeing, is someone graduating with a whole bunch of different stuff. A whole bunch of different stuff that's on there. So interesting. So you'll get to see, and I also see the person, it's like they're joyous and they're like kind of jumping up and down. They're like, yeah, I did it. Celebratory. Yeah, I did it. And other people celebrating them too. So the graduation ceremony, interesting. The graduation ceremony, also think about graduations. Usually when you're going through a graduation, you're receiving presents or receiving gifts. It's like, okay, you graduated. Here's this thing. Congrats. Here, you graduated. Here's this gift. Hey, you graduated. Here you go. Hey, you graduated. Hey, you graduated. Hey, so we have some gifts for you. We being the spirits that are around you if you're going through graduation. So 10th through the 11th is going to be more about the graduation. Interesting. Graduation celebration could be partially manifestation, grounding. Okay, so just discern for yourself how those things may work. And if you are still in need of taking some steps, you still got to walk the aisles during graduation, unless you're doing it online and just looking at it. But if you're at the actual ceremony, right? Ceremonies also require work, and we gotta, do some things. And that's what I mean. Saturn isn't a planet of rest. So that's gonna be the moon in Leo. On the 11th, Mercury is gonna be conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries. Now, with everything else that's happening, this is gonna be probably a day where this is gonna be like, how do I say this? Because then the 12th, we're going to have the sun and the Saturn are going to be exactly conjunct at 22 degrees. These are really like portal days, to be honest. These are portal days. And normally portal days the way that I'm seeing them right now on like a collective level, and thank you, Spirit, for allowing me to see this image. The way I'm seeing them right now on a collective level is like, a lot of times portal days, we work with them in the sense of like, what can I manifest, or what can I work through the portal, or what can I bring through the portal. And these portal days, a Mercury conjunct retrograde, the Venus retrograde in Aries on the 11th, and then the Sun and Saturn conjunct at 22 degrees in Pisces on the 12th, is some portal days coming through. But this is like, I see as portals opening and like things popping through and landing in your lap. And so instead of like us being the activator, or us being the like the conductor kind of, or like the director of what happens on those portal days, I see the portal days coming through and just like but I see it's like wrapped gifts. Again, the graduation ceremony, the 10th through the 11th, and like the gifts of graduation. Of course, after graduation, probably you're gonna like go have a meal and like sit with people who care about you, and then there's gonna be more gifts that show up then too, or you're gonna go party with your friends, or whatever you're gonna do to celebrate your graduation, right? So there's things that come through and pop through, and it's like, what I see the portal days, it's like there's things that are popping through, and it's like unexpected. We don't expect gifts. There may be like oh yeah, it makes sense that a gift would be there, but like if a gift is truly a gift, there's not usually an expectation on it. It's like, either I didn't expect this gift to be here, I didn't expect this to be in the wrapping, I didn't expect what was underneath the box, I didn't expect what was inside of it. And gifts also, let's really think about this, gifts also are usually handpicked, handcrafted, handmade sometimes. People who care about you, at least for me, this is how I pick up gifts. This is how I make gifts for people. If it's like a real big gift, sometimes there's smaller gifts that I give. That's great. You know how the pebbling that people talk about sometimes. It's like, oh, here's a pebble, love you. Here's a pebble, love you. Here's a pebble, love you. Sometimes I do that too. I'm kind of like that. And also, when it comes to big gifts, like the gifts of bigger, because that's what the season could be for some people, is like larger fates, larger crossings of fate. Large and in charge crossings of fate. And when those large and in charge crossings of fate come through, it's like those big gifts that you get, those big gifts that you receive that you didn't know was coming. You didn't expect them to spend that much money on you. You didn't expect them to go to that very fancy store and buy that very fancy thing. That's going to be more in terms of capitalism. Magic is not just about money, and also some real world stuff that we could relate it to. It could be, the spirits coming through to be like, well, here's your brand new car. You asked for something, right? Here's your brand new car. Okay. You didn't expect it to be this nice. You didn't expect it to be this price. Well, here you go. And it's yours. There could be some other things that come through I'm just seeing really like luxurious things that do cost a lot. What have you paid for also is maybe, how do I say this? In the sense of a graduation ceremony, you have paid, if we're looking at this in the sense of that, okay, in the sense of it, in the metaphor of it, in the analogy of it, in the vision of it, in the sense of graduation, we're closing out an entire era currently, moving into a new one. So at the end of this era, think about, if you're going through school, you got to pay tuition. If you're not paying tuition, you got to apply for scholarships. You got to apply for loans. You got, there's application. You still got to do the work to make sure you can have the payment. You got to put in the time. You have to put in the effort. You got to study. There's relationships you have to build while you're in school. There's a whole bunch of stuff with extracurricular work if you wanted to get involved with other stuff. Like, there's a whole system. Institution. Crazy. There's a whole system. So putting that kind of perspective on what it is that you've been doing with your work and with your life and with your magic, even my voice wants to change, my goodness. Putting that perspective on your life and your work and your magic, what did you pay to get to the graduation? And now you have the I'm going to put air quotes, diploma, okay, the degree, air quotes, whatever that graduation for you might be. You have that now. You paid for that. You paid for it. You paid for it. You paid for it. You paid for it. Maybe with blood, sweat, and tears, depending on who you are and what the work that you've been doing. You paid for it. 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 Gifts are not things that you pay for. Gifts are things that say you paid for that thing, you did that thing, and you did it with honor. I'm going to cry. You did that thing. Oh my goodness. You did that thing and you did it with honor. Here, we see you. We see that you paid for it. We see that you came through and you did what you needed to. We see that you have honored yourself. We see that you have gone all the way through. We see that you have, yes, showed up to the graduation and gone through the ceremony. We see that you have poured your heart and your work and your time and your efforts and your gravity and your sleep sometimes too into what you're doing. We see you also in the trials and tribulations that you went through. We see you. We know how hard it was. We know what was happening behind the scenes that had nothing to do with school while you were in school. We're humans, right? There's always stuff going on that doesn't have anything to do with what we're working on sometimes. Granted, mirrors and whatnot, but for now, we'll keep it clear. So the spirits that are around, they're like, yeah, we see you. We see you. We see you. Kind of like mom and dad is the energy I get from this. It's like mom and dad, they see you. The moms and the dads of the spirits that are around you. The parental, because that's how I look at the spirits sometimes. Is like, not every single parent, not every single spirit is a parent to us. And also, the spirits around us are usually older, wiser. Not always. A lot of the times. Often, they're older, wiser, stronger, longer than we are. So think about the spirits that are on your team that have been around you for, through this whole entire process of you, whatever the school graduation ceremony application in your life is, however that reflects, speaking of mirrors again, however that reflects, then they're like, yeah, we see you. We know how hard it was. We know how hard it was. We saw you go through it. We saw you go through it. We saw how hard you worked. We saw how much you put in. You're going to get your reward, and then we're going to give you some extra. You're going to get your reward, and then we went to this nice store, and we got you this new watch. You're going to get your reward, and then, and you're going to be celebrated. You don't have to pay for dinner. No, we're paying for dinner. You went and got this reward. You got this diploma. You got this degree. Okay, good. Now let us come through and celebrate you. Here's a new car. We're going to pay for your apartment for some time because, you got to get your job applications out there. Whatever it is. This is a season where the spirits are coming through to make sure that you are not only honored and revered, but you are taken care of, and you are taken care of in fertile abundance. This is when I was talking about the Jupiter that's involved with this season. Well, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. So when we get to the 11th and the 12th, and we have on the 11th, Mercury is going to be conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries. We've got the 12th, the Sun and the Saturn conjunct at 22 degrees. That's happening in Pisces, okay? If you're feeling the portal days coming through, these are going to be days where the rewards are happening. Rewards are happening. And if you're someone who's going through struggle right now, because this is going to be another kind of place, space, or, we can't sometimes avoid the hardships that we're in the middle of. So if you're someone who's going through hardships, here are the days where the tools that you need to get through what you're going through come up. Perspective. These are the days where if you're going through something hard, you're in a situation you don't want to be in, if you're still in the process of going through in the school and learning, if you're still in the process of getting through what you're going through, if you're still in the process of having a hard thumb come down on you from wherever it is coming down from, okay? If you're still in the process of that, here's the portal days to make sure that, you're going to make it through. You're going to make it through. Here's the brew that you need to do. Here's the tools that we need from you, possibly we being the spirits, not me involved, but the spirits that are around you. Here's what we need from you. Here's what we need. Here's what the spirits might need from you. And at the same time, here's some things that you can receive to help you. Here's some things, whether it's perspectives, because it is Mercury that's involved with this. Venus retrograde also sometimes can be associated with drought, and we got to figure it out without having anything around. So there's a lot of different directions that these portal days could kind of go in. With the understanding also, there's going to be celebrations for some people if that's the work that you've been doing. If you're still in the middle of hard things, you feel like maybe this season is not a celebration, this eclipse season is not a celebration season for you. These portal days are going to ask you to go and earn the tool that you need to go through. There could be some things that arrive just because it's time for you to understand, it's time for the tool to land in your hand. That's also a part of this as well. And these days it's also because it's Saturn and it's the sun. Okay, let's take a step into that for a second. Because it's Saturn and it's the sun on that 12th day, oh goodness gracious, that day's gonna have a lot to say. Prophecy, people who work with prophecy, divination, messages, dreams. insights. Okay, this is a day where if you feel like you see something important or you're paying attention to the order that's around you, and you need to pay attention to the order that's around, write it down. There could be also prophecies that have already happened that now are coming into fruition. So this is a strong day on the 12th. This is going to be specifically not just the portal days themselves, but on the 12th with the Sun and the Saturn conjunct in Pisces. This is going to be a day where not only are the spirits going to have a lot to say, there's going to be clarity and illumination around transitions, around spiritual positions, around spiritual insight, if you've been looking for, and that's what I mean by like the prophecy and divination. This is also because Venus is retrograde and it's going to be conjunct with that Mercury. Any information the day before, the day prior, any information that's coming through on these days is going to be helpful in the binding work of you being able to gather everything that you need, put it in a bundle, and carry it with you through what you're going through so that nobody can steal from you, nobody can take from you, nobody can break you, nobody can make you, and that you are on your own path going through the next era that you're going through. So something else to look out for these days. It's very like, because Saturn has a different relationship with everybody. Sometimes it's really serious. It's the father figure, right? So sometimes it's really serious. Sometimes it's like congratulatory. So it really just depends on how your personal relationship with Saturn is currently positioned and is currently working. So take a look at that for yourself for discernment of just like what's happening with that in the world, in your world also specifically. And then with these days, understand that Saturn's coming through to ask something of you and probably offer some things too. The asking and the offering. Okay, well, you've already done all this work. Here's the offering that I have because you've already done this work. And also, we're going in. We haven't stopped. We're not done yet. That's Pisces, transition. We aren't finalized. We're not finished. We're not through. So, okay, we still have work to do. So what is it that we need to do? We still have work to do. So what else are you going to do? This is like if we go back to the schooling and the degree, right? Now you've gone through the graduation ceremony. You're at dinner. You're with you're receiving gifts from the people that you're celebrating with. And then you're sitting at the dinner table and your dad looks at you and he's like, so what are you going to do now? Can I just get a minute to celebrate, Dad? Can I just get a minute to celebrate? What do you mean? What am I going to do now? This is an opportunity for you to talk about your dreams, where you want to go. Why did you work so hard for this degree? Why did you work so hard for it? This thing that you are now celebrating, where the spirits are coming through to honor you and they're bringing gifts, okay? What is it that you, thank you, Spirit. What is it that you, thank you, Spirit. What is it you want to do now? You earned it. You earned it. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You have this new piece of paper. You have this new experience of education. You have there's something new that you have. It's a completion. You're going through this era of, you've completed something. You completed something. So these days, Saturn's going to look at you. Here's the gifts. Okay, we've celebrated. Now, where are you going to go now, kid? Where are you going to go now? Where are you going to go? What do you want to do? And because it's Saturn, and with the way that Mercury, again, is going to be conjunct the day prior with Venus retrograde in Aries, this is the dad in a very, very serious position saying, I can help you with whatever you might need help with. So why don't we talk about it? Because if we don't talk about it now, we're not going to be able to talk about it probably anytime soon, because that dad is going to have to leave that space of celebration, and wherever the ceremony of graduation is happening, that dad is going to have to leave, and he's going to have to go back to work, and he's going to have to go back to his life, and he's going to have to go back to his own time frames, right? Saturn, time. So this dinner, this celebration, this place, this space where you're being honored, the spirits are bringing gifts through, okay, when you are sat down, you might be, I don't know, I feel like that might be for me too. It's like, okay, time to sit down and talk about it. When you are sat down and Saturn starts to talk to you, Saturn, the spirit, time, order, and structure, okay, if you are in another spiritual practice where time, order, and structure has another spirit name, or you're someone who works specifically and directly with time, order, and structure, however you would name that or sit with it in your life, when that spirit and those spirits and the father spirits start to come through, also possibly true, the ancestral father spirits, if that's a part of your practice, is what I'm hearing as well. When the father spirits start to come through and they are like, hey, so what is it you want to do now? They're asking that question not to diminish you, not to make you afraid of the future. They're not asking that question to berate you. They're asking that question to make sure that they can elevate you. Okay, well, you want to go do this thing? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that journey? Have you thought about maybe being in a higher position even? Because it's Saturn, it's about hierarchy. Have you thought about maybe even doing more than that? Because like Saturn, especially with this Venus retrograde, again, with the Mercury, if you're having conversations and information is being shared, which is, if you're talking to the spirits, here you go, then this is a perfect time frame to be binding up worth of hierarchy when it comes to the transitions that you're going through. So here's congratulations. What do you want to do? And are you worth more than that? And Saturn in this position is going to help you understand what is it that you need permission to do to be able to make it through that. That's going to be more Venus retrograde, also applicable. What is it that you need to do to make it through into this new position? Are you worth more than the position that you're dreaming of? Is there something even bigger for you that you may not be able to comprehend yet, that father figure then can help you to understand? Saturn, time, order, and structure can help you to understand. And if you have anything grand to land, there could be something. Think about Saturn is a very, 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 very wealthy spirit. Time, all of the time that exists in the world, my experience of time, your experience of time, your neighbor's experience of time, okay, the person down the street, their experience, everybody's experience of time. You got the trees experiencing time, you have the birds and the animals and the breeze experiencing time, the elements experience, the gods experiencing time. Okay, time is an abundant, fertile, fruitful being. Yeah, it is. We might not always think about time as abundant or like that fertile energy. And also in this moment, I'm feeling called to sit with it. So when we're looking at this conversation of father, it's like, okay, well, how can we have more abundance in this time? You want to be in this position, or you want to go apply for these jobs, or whatever it is that this degree is. Saturn in this moment and the father figures in your practice and in your life, there's the possibility that they'll come through and say, well, what about, how can I help you? How can I help you? Saturn has already earned a lot. Saturn already is like, it's time. It's the totality in all of time. So there's a lot for Saturn to be able to offer and to give. I love you, Saturn. Thank you. There's a lot that spirit is able to give. The spirits of time, order, and structure, the father figures. There's a lot in the spirit that they're able to offer. And Saturn right now is sitting in the spirit. It's sitting in Pisces. It's sitting in spirit. It's sitting in Pisces. So that spirit of Saturn, order, time, and structure, looking at you talking about your dreams, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do. Maybe they're like, oh, you know what? They've actually earned, now that I know what they want, there's this extra check that I can cut them because they're going to need it. We've already given you all this other stuff. Well, let's talk about your dreams. How else can I help? Oh, I have these resources already for you. Have you earned the trust of that spirit? Have you earned more help coming? Because it's possible that there might be more. Are you sure about what you're talking about? Are you sure about your dreams? Are you sure? Are you sure? Saturn's going to check in with you and make sure that you're feeling mature and sure about it. And there could be more coming through. Celebrations and honors. Serious conversations about dreams. And then Saturn says, oh, I can help you with that. If you've earned that kind of relationship with Saturn. If you've earned that kind of relationship with the spirits and the beings around you. This season, this whole entire season, especially with the full moon in Virgo, is very, very directional. It's grounding long-term directionality. And when I say long-term directionality, I mean like 18, 20 years from now. That may not be exactly, it's going to be a long time though. For everybody, it's going to be a different time frame. It depends on your perspective and the magic that you're working right now, and kind of like, what are you thinking about time frame wise, what are your priorities and stuff like that too. So keep that in mind for yourself. I know I've been working with about 18, 20 year time frame. And there's some smaller time frames I've been working with too, because you can look at 18, 20 years and, not look at what's right in front of you. So that's also true. Yeah. But yeah, Saturn's going to come through and be like, well, I can help you with more. So are you sure? I can help you with more. Okay. Okay, Saturn. So, goodness golly. Goodness golly. That's crazy. So that's the 11th and 12th. Then the 12th through the 14th. Do I want to say that? I feel like I need to stop and make this just one show. I feel like I need to stop and make this just one show and then make the next one. Okay, I was gonna just go all the way through to the eclipses, and I feel right now like I need to stop. There's a lot. That's a lot. Rest with that. Okay, we are gonna let it rest. I'm gonna be done. We're gonna let it rest. I was gonna go all the way through to the eclipses, but honestly, and like into the full moon Virgo eclipse, but I feel like that's honestly like, that's enough to work with. That's enough to understand right now. That is enough. That is enough. That's a lot. A lot? Enough? That's a lot. That's a lot. This eclipse season, I don't know about you, but I know about me. So far, I have felt very, very, very clear, specific, intense energy. So, as it needs to be, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting me. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep doing the work you need to do. We're going to focus on that for now, and then I'll bring through our next episode for our eclipses. Yeah. And then we'll talk specifically about the eclipses. Thank you, the highest spirit. That's true. Then we'll talk specifically about the eclipses when we get into the coming days, okay? The coming days. So this one, have your says, have your sways, and then we'll focus on what could be coming up when the eclipses are closer. Because the moon, when that sun and Saturn are conjunct at 22 degrees, the moon will be moving into Virgo. So before we even, this is all this that's happening in this episode. This is before we get to the eclipse. This is like preparation for what's going to happen on the eclipse. This is preparation for the manifestation to ground. This is preparation for you to actually receive. You're telling me that, oh my God, spirit. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're telling me that that's crazy to think about. We're going to go through this whole graduation ceremony. There's going to be plates full of food. People not being rude. You're going to get gifts. You're going to have the support that you need and that you ask for. Thanks, Saturn. And we're not even to the actual event yet. We're not. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's work with that for now. And then when we need to see the eclipse energy, it'll be there. I'll have another episode out in the coming days for everybody. Because this is crazy. This is a crazy season. Crazy season. Every season has a reason. I'm feeling like this is a fated, crazy, unpredictable season. Usually the eclipses are unpredictable, and also a fated, crazy, unpredictable season. That's kind of some of my favorite energy. I'm not going to lie to you. Fates? I love the fates. Okay. Love you, fates. Love you, fate, presence, and change. Love you. Love you. Love you. Love the fates. Love fate as a being. Love fate. Okay. Crazy? I love crazy. I love crazy. The being crazy, the spirit crazy. You don't call me crazy, it would be the truth. Okay. Crazy. Fated crazy. Celebrations, faded crazy receivings, faded crazy fertility, faded crazy abundance, faded crazy. Okay. So let the crazy fates ground. I'll see you in the next episode. And we'll talk about the eclipse and what to expect and what to, be in then.